I have been asked to say a few words about the work that was done at Trent Park during the war. But before I go into that, I had better give you a very brief rundown on my own background. I came to England in April 1939 as a 20-year-old refugee from Nazi Germany. As I still had German nationality, when the war broke out on the 3rd September 1939, I immediately became an enemy agent and subject to some restrictions. A little later, it was decided that I was in fact a friendly enemy agent, which was a contradiction in terms. However, when the Germans were overrunning the Low Countries and were facing the Channel and threatening to invade this country, I was interned, like most of the other male enemy agents, even the friendly ones. After a few months, it became possible to be released from internment if one volunteered to join the British Army. I jumped at this opportunity, not only in order to get out of the internment camp, but also because I was longing to do something to help the war effort. After all, we ex-refugees had far more motivation to fight the Germans than our British contemporaries. We knew that the only way to get rid of the Nazis was to win the war. The only regiment we were allowed to join was the Pioneer Corps, the unskilled labor of the army, the lowest of the low. We were given no arms, and our job was to dig trenches, shift ammunition boxes, and clear up bomb sites and other uninspiring tasks. I was fortunate in not having to do any of this typical pioneer work, as I was an amateur musician and was able to join an army orchestra after the initial 3 weeks training. However, after a while I considered that playing my cello was not a very effective way of fighting the Nazis, and I was therefore waiting for the War Office to allow us to join other units. This eventually happened, and in May 1943 I was transferred to the Intelligence Corps. But first of all, I had to attend an interview at the War Office in London, which lasted all day. First by a board of officers in the morning, and then in the afternoon by a civilian who I was sure was an MI5 officer. I was not told what I was going to do. I was not told that I had been accepted, and I was not told where I would work. Eventually, after about 2 months, I was called to the War Office again and given a ticket to the Metropolitan Line station of Cheltenham and Latimer in Buckinghamshire, and told what train to catch. The military transport picked me up and took me to a nearby army camp, which was obviously something special, as it had barbed wire all around it, and a barrier across the entrance which was guarded by an armed sentry. I was immediately promoted to sergeant, which was 3 steps in one go. When I reported to the commanding officer the next morning, he told me what I was going to do. This was, in fact, a prisoner of war camp. Our guests, as they were called, were housed in cells which were secretly mic'd and had 2 occupants in each, and we were to listen to what they were saying to each other. It was all highly secret. I was not to tell anybody, not even my nearest and dearest, what I was doing, nor where exactly I was stationed. He also told me that my activities there were more important for the war effort than driving a tank or firing a machine gun. At the end of the interview, he ordered me to sign the Official Secrets Act, which confirmed everything that he had said to me. The place of work was called the M Room, which was kitted out with recording equipment. We were told what information was expected from the POWs to whom we were listening, and as soon as the conversation seemed to lead to something of value to the authorities, we activated the recording machine so that nothing they were saying was lost. Not only did we record military information, but also details of atrocities. Such records were specially marked and put into an archive. Lastly, we recorded what our guests told their cellmates about their home lives, as the morale of the German civilian population was of interest to the political intelligence purposes. We worked in 2 shifts, from breakfast to 4 p.m. and from 4 p.m. until the prisoners went to sleep. Of course, weekends had to be covered. We had 1 full day off per week, which had to be agreed by the officer in charge, who ensured that full cover was maintained at all times. There were only 2 inmates in each cell, and they were always paired so that it was fairly easy to know who was speaking. Either they belonged to different services, like Army and Navy, or Navy and Air Force, or they were from different parts of Germany and therefore spoke in different dialects, or one of them had a low voice and the other one a deep one. Personally, I never worked at Trent Park, but only at the other 2 sister camps at Latimer House and Wilton Park, where lower ranked POWs were kept. I have recently been to Trent Park, and I consider it of the utmost importance that the intelligence work that was done there during the war is not forgotten. That's why I came here today to tell you a little about it. Ideally, I think that a museum should be established and part of the building, and visitors freely admitted. Our work for British intelligence was kept a well-guarded secret until the end of the last century, but now that it has become public knowledge, everything possible should be done to keep that knowledge alive. Wilton Park has changed radically, and its manor house was demolished. Latimer House is now a hotel, and most wartime buildings there don't exist anymore. At least let us keep Trent Park as a memento. Thank you.